So, 36 years later, a sequel I don't think anybody really asked for, especially after all of this time. And with just how well sequels tend to go after these long periods of time, well, was Beetlejuice Beetlejuice worth the wait? One thing that can be said about Tim Burton is he has a very distinctive style, which can lead to very much a love or hate relationship with his movies. This movie definitely has that style splattered all throughout the beginning to the end. So if you weren't a fan before, well, I'm sorry to say, I don't think this one's going to do it for you. But if you were a fan of the first movie, I think for the most part, this might just win you over. However though, there is some pitfalls which we will get into. But the unsurprising standout of the movie is of course Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. He simply has not missed a step, and he is without a doubt the best part of this film. He has lines out the wazoo that will make you chuckle, and you can tell he has some love for this character, bringing his all to this film and not just phoning it in, which, it could very well have been the case. He still has all those mannerisms that we all loved from the first one and his inappropriate jokes at an inappropriate time. But a close second to Beetlejuice is no other than Bob, the man, the thing, himself. Although unfortunately for Bob, having to play somewhat of a decoy for Beetlejuice for his evil ex-wife, Dolores. That's an evil name, isn't it? Dolores. You just know she's evil. And to be fair, I'd be pretty terrified myself if I had this lady chasing after us, hunting me down. Another favourite would also be Willem Dafoe as Wolf Jackson. This cop trying to track down Dolores before she sucks the souls of everybody and makes them dead, including Beetlejuice himself. He used to be an actor in the real world, and it's quite funny seeing him literally play a role as a detective in this land of the dead. His assistant even at some point has cue cards when he's given some fancy cop speech. And while we are on the topic of the land of the dead, it is fantastic to see. And we have so many funny encounters with those who have died. In some rather seemingly peculiar ways, it's fair to say. And on that same note of death and dead, well, I'm really honestly blown away that this is a 12A. That means here in the UK that you can take anybody under the age of 12 as long as it's accompanied by an adult. I think in this movie I spotted at least one 7-year-old. That's a brave 7-year-old. And I do think it pushes that rating to its absolute limit as much as you possibly could. Cleverly, in parts with the makeup, but sometimes to its detriment. For instance, when it comes to Willem Dafoe's character and he's got like half his face coming off and you can see his brain, it's pretty clearly makeup. It does sometimes look a little bit silly, but in other parts looking really quite convincing without being too excessive. And again, on that brave little 7-year-old boy, he was actually laughing at what I would certainly class as some gory parts. Key example being with Charles also returning, sort of, but I'm going to leave that bit out for spoilers' sake, but it led to a few funny moments. The returning cast are all a joy to watch, with Catherine O'Hara as Della being Della, and it's nice seeing Winona Rhyder back in this role again as Lydia, who now has a TV show discussing ghosts and ghost encounters. However, Jenna Ortega as Astrid, her daughter, honestly, really got on my nerves for the first part of this movie. I do normally like her, but yeah, she was just like an annoying little brat, being rather unsavoury to her mother, which frankly seemed to care for her a lot, even before it all kicks off. She doesn't believe in ghosts and ghouls of this world, and believes her mother to be a bit of a sham, and I would go as far to say she actually hates her for the first part of this movie, and again, a very just excessive and really quite unbelievable way. It's like, she really doesn't seem that bad. Until, of course, it all kicks off and yada. And my God, she literally bumps into this boy and it is an excruciating love story. The movie really slows down when these two are on the screen. It just seems to come to an absolute halt. And I was just in the chair, just like this, really fading off on the verge of falling asleep. I do have to give credit though, because it did take, finally, a little bit of a turn that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, after that point, it wasn't too bad, but I just wish we could have got there sooner. There's some clever layered jokes in here as well, where adults can most certainly enjoy it as much as the child, which I do think you could comfortably watch with maybe a 9-year-old, if you don't want to scare the bejesus out of them. And it's definitely had an uplift since the 80s, while still keeping its original look and feel. So, if you enjoyed the first movie, I mean, of course, I do think you will get a lot of enjoyment from this film. And, it's a really great time of year, of course, getting into the spooky season feel of it all. And again, it's a lot of it based on Halloween. So yeah, it was just nice to see the pumpkins and the ghouly music. I've got to give Beetlejuice a 7 out of 10. It's a fun enough time, especially after 36 years. It could have went down a really bad path. Thankfully, it didn't do so. Would I watch it again? You know what? Perhaps I would on Halloween season. So, have you seen the first movie? Are you going to see the second one? Let me know down in the comments, especially if you've seen it already. Let me know your thoughts down below. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Perhaps, why not one of these ones just here?